Hey friends, today I'm talking about why it's important to be an inclusive physician and to tell you my story of how I came to this, because I didn't always realize that this was important. Welcome back everyone, my name is Dr. Jennifer Lincoln. I'm an OBGYN and I'm here today to talk about why it is important to be inclusive and what that even means. And to be honest, I had a totally different YouTube plan today, but after a post of mine that I put on Instagram this week got some interesting feedback, I thought, you know what, let's talk about this today. This is more important, the other stuff can wait. I'm outside today because it's beautiful and it's going to be about 90 degrees later today, so instead of filming in my basement where it's really cold and dark, I thought I'd come out here and enjoy it. So hopefully we will not have too many interruptions by cars, lawnmowers, all that kind of stuff. Now, am I an expert on inclusive care and that kind of thing? No, I'm not. And maybe I'll even get some things wrong here. Just like with racism, I do not consider myself an expert, but we should not wait until we're experts on racism to start anti-racist work. I feel like we've learned that in the past year. This is the same thing. So putting yourself out there, you might get something wrong, you might say something wrong, you might use a term that's like, ooh, that's not ideal. Guess what? I've done that too, and people have given me feedback and I've said, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Thank you for teaching me. I'm gonna work to do better, and I'm gonna keep teaching myself. Maybe even here I've used words or definitions or things that you don't think were the best. Go ahead and let me know. This is how we learn. But what I wanna highlight is that if we wait to be an expert in these sorts of things, then we're never going to take the steps in learning and doing better. Here's the post that I posted today, how to be a more inclusive OBGYN and why it matters. And so I want to share my story with you. First of all, what does it mean to be inclusive? Being inclusive means that we don't refer to all pregnant people as pregnant women or pregnant moms. Instead, we want to include everyone. So we might say birthing people, birthing person, pregnant person. Instead of saying all women who have periods, we might say all people who have periods or people who have a uterus and have a period. And when you hear that the first few times, you might think, this is ridiculous. This using all these words, just say woman, just say pregnant mom, just say dad. When you use this language, you're erasing motherhood and fatherhood. And I'm here today to tell you that that's not the case and to give you some quick information on why that's so, why we need to be like this, and how to get there. So first, I want to tell you my story. And I feel like it's okay to share that when we know better, we do better. So a few years ago, I was at a conference and I had heard that there was a journal that was saying, we should not refer to all pregnant women as mothers. And the person who was telling me this was really upset and said, they're trying to erase motherhood. And I thought, wow, she's right. Like, I'm a mom, and why are we taking this away from other mothers, this term that means so much? And I didn't quite understand what it meant. And I came to it when, honestly, I was on social media more and I saw other people on social media and I started to see this language being used and to see that it didn't take away mothers or take away our, heteronormative roles, but instead it broadened the definition to include people. So what I'm talking about is using language that is more inclusive, that allows more people to be in the group instead of less people. And the people who are already in the group don't lose their status or not as important. It just means that we're adding to it because not everybody fits the definitions of what we as society have traditionally called a mother or a father or a woman or a man. Sex and gender are very different things, and this is just the fact. It's not some crazy interpretation or some crazy left-wing liberal idea. It's true. So that's how I came to it. So I realized that over time, and even in just the past year or so, my posts have attempted to be more inclusive in terms of language. And so I like to go back and forth. I like to say women and people with periods, or birthing women and birthing people, and go back and forth because I think that helps to move the needle, and it also helps people see that you can include everybody and everybody feels seen, if that makes sense. So if you're saying, why does this matter? Because it's just a small group of people and, I'm sorry, but only women give birth. Well, that's not really true. So here's why it matters. So we know that 150,000 kids and 1.4 million adults live in the United States and identify as transgender. So if you ask me, that's good enough reason for me. And quite frankly, I don't care if me using inclusive language helps one or... There we go. Now we dance. That's what happens when you film outside. So what was I saying? Oh, it doesn't matter if, I'm helping 5 people feel more included, but when you're talking about hundreds of thousands and millions of people who identify in a different way than what we as society have traditionally labeled male and female, then why wouldn't we want to include them? Because guess what? They matter too. I'm not transgendered, I'm a cis female. And I don't feel threatened when I use that kind of language. But guess who does feel threatened and ignored and not seen when we use exclusionary language? The people I just spoke about. And these aren't just hypothetical norms. We have studies and data, and you know me, I've always got my references and resources down in the show notes. We know in one study, 30% of transgendered respondents had had at least one negative experience at the doctor's office, whether they weren't understood, the doctor asked them to teach them about trans care and pronouns and that kind of thing, or they were refused care or verbally harassed. That's terrible. At a doctor's office, which should be a safe space for everybody. 23% of transgendered individuals have not gone to a doctor because they have been afraid to interact with their healthcare provider or have been afraid to be subject to that prejudice and that discriminatory treatment. What do you think happens when these people don't go to the doctor? Things get missed. People end up sicker. The level of care that somebody gets should not be dependent on their sexual orientation or their gender identity. Here's what's important, and here's why I think this is important. Being inclusive hurts no one and excludes no one. So when we use inclusive language, we are not excluding women or saying that women aren't important or that traditional cis relationships, male, female, husband, wife, whatever, are not important if that's what's important to you. It just means that we've broadened the definition. We've invited more people to the party instead of making it an invite only and we've excluded a bunch of people. So why wouldn't we do that? And why as healthcare providers, we took an oath to first do no harm. If I do harm by using a term that is not how you identify your core being, that's not okay. So here's some things that I think that you can try if you're thinking, Jen, you're crazy. I just can't get in. I just can't do this. Here's what I want you to see. The lovely thing is that there's lots of resources and there's really no excuse today in this day and age to say that you don't understand these things or that you can't get information. And no, it doesn't mean that you go up to your friend who's gay or lesbian or transgender and say, hey, can you teach me about this? I mean, it's fine if they want to offer that, but it's not their job. Just like with racism, it's our job to do the work and understand. I want to share some resources from Tristan Reese, who's a trans man who gave birth here in Portland, Oregon, where I am, and has created some wonderful content online related to his pregnancy, his journey with adoption and pregnancy and parenting as a trans person. So the first one is his YouTube called Hacking Pronouns. And again, all the links are down in my references and resources. 10-minute quick YouTube on how to get more used to using preferred pronouns. And I should take a step back and say that the first thing that you should do is work on asking people their pronouns. And if that feels weird or uncomfortable, I get it, but it gets easier. And it even is easier if you just, in the beginning, offer your own pronouns. It's a simple change, like putting it in your profile on your social media handles or next to your Zoom name when you're in meetings, because that tells other people who might be afraid to share their pronouns that aren't considered traditional that this is a space where they can do that. So watching this YouTube video can really help. Tristan also put together a great model called All Pregnant People, Trans Birth for Birth Workers. And this is a module that you can register and walk through at your own time and your own pace. It is true, men can have babies. If somebody has transitioned and identifies as a male, that's who they are, yet they have a uterus, they can get pregnant and carry babies and give birth. And it's important that we are able to support them in labor and delivery and through the pregnancy and postpartum process. Next up, a podcast for you from Evidence-Based Birth. It's a longer name, so I have to look at it on the computer. So it's called Inclusion for Queer and Trans Parent Families with Danie Crofoot. And so it says, in this episode, learn about queer and trans parents, including the evidence on trans people, hormones and pregnancy, trans masculine people and pregnancy, misgendering, hospital logistics, and how the academic world can build a more robust body of research on the topics related to LGBTQIA plus identities. So again, it's linked down here. I mean, think about the things that we prepare on a daily basis, right? We prepare for amniotic fluid embolisms. We prepare for eclamptic seizures. We prepare for shoulder dystocias. These things are pretty rare, but we're expected to be experts in them. Why should we also not be experts in how to help patients who identify in this way to be able to give them the kind of care that they deserve, right? And Tristan Reese also wrote a book, and if you want to, you can get it. I've linked it down below. It's in my Amazon shop. Again, I get a commission, but I donate all of it. And it's called How We Do Family, From Adoption to Trans Pregnancy, What We Learned About Love and LGBTQ Parenthood. It's right there. You can read the book and you can understand it right there. And so if you are still really, kicking tooth and nail and saying, this is stupid, I don't want to learn about this, I encourage you to really read it and hear it from people who have been personally affected by this. And at the end of the day, question that and say, does it really hurt me to expand my definitions and open my mind, or rather does it hurt other people more, real people, to keep that mind closed? And I am not penalizing you if this is the first time you've thought about it. It's okay, because when we know better, we do better. That's okay. If you're looking for people to follow on Instagram, the Inclusive Project right here is a great one. I love their posts, and they have a workshop too that you can register for. And I think that following these kinds of people in your feeds, it puts it in front of you every day. Just like it helped me seeing this in my social media every day, and then it just became part of my language. Same thing. Diversify your feed. This is another way to do that, and then it becomes part of your everyday, and you don't even think about it. Lastly, I'm going to mention Mama Dr. Jones, or Danielle Jones, who's an OBGYN and YouTube megastar. She's got a fantastic YouTube on this topic, and tons of resources are within her YouTube. So if you want to dive even more into this, I highly encourage that you go to her YouTube and you watch. I hope this has been helpful. I really encourage you to dive into these resources. If you have questions or comments, let me know. If you like this kind of content and want to follow along for more, go ahead and subscribe, hit on the bell, follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and together we all learn. And remember, including more people excludes no one, and everyone deserves to be seen. Have a great day.